After playing the Wilds beta with some friends who are new to the series, I quickly discovered that this game kinda sucks at tutorials. But honestly, I really can't blame the game. If they shoved an extended tutorial in the game for every system it has, most players would probably get frustrated and quit before the first hunt even started. Monster Hunter Wilds is a very simple game from the outside looking in, but it actually contains a downright impressive amount of depth. This video is designed to teach you some of the fundamentals that the tutorials might have missed for you. I'm assuming you are somewhat familiar with the gameplay loop and how to press buttons already. There's a lot that goes into preparing for your actual hunts, but for now let's start off with combat and how to avoid getting smacked around like a puppy that wandered into a kindergarten classroom. When it comes to combat in Monster Hunter, do not overestimate the dodge. Dodging can certainly be useful, but it's nowhere near the crutch it is in other RPGs like the Dark Souls games. Positioning is king here. You can't iframe your way out of everything, so learning where the monster is attacking and where you need to be in order to avoid it is a hell of a lot more important than timing your dodge. In many cases, you use your roll to physically move your character out of the way before an attack hits, rather than to roll through the attack with invincibility frames. There are certainly exceptions. Roars in particular are a good place to use the short invincibility and dodge through. Quick editor's note as well, I forgot to mention that weapons like the bow and dual blades are also great for dodging, as they have a perfect dodge animation that gets you a lot more iframes. Where the game really makes you feel like Dark Souls is the many times you're gonna get absolutely decked and forced to chug magic heal juice, and trust me, there will be many of those times. This is where your Sacred can save the day. You can call your trusty mount basically as soon as you hit the ground, and it will come sprinting to your aid, even scooping you up off the ground if you call it fast enough. This gives you time to heal or sharpen your weapon without having to stop your momentum. And hey, if you're having a tough time with your first weapon, you can always swap to your secondary right from the back of your mount. When you dismount from the Sacred while sprinting, you will leap into the air. If you come down on the monster with an attack, you can actually grab onto the monster for mounted attacks. For this to occur, the monster cannot be enraged. You can tell if a monster is enraged by the glowing red indicator over it on the minimap. You only get one chance per hunt to mount the monster, and you'll want to make the most of it. Your main objective is to expose weak points by stabbing it a bunch. On large monsters, there are 3 monster parts you can jump between: the head, the back, and the tail. Stabbing these spots repeatedly will eventually expose a weak point, at which point you can press R1 to do a weapon attack and break the weak point for some great damage. A good rule of thumb is to create all 3 weak points, then finish on its back.
Are we not saying phrasing anymore?
As this is the spot that is hardest to reach during normal combat. Then you or a teammate can easily use focus mode to target the head and tail. Focus mode is entered by holding L2. Doing so will highlight any weak points on the monster with a red glow, which can then be sort of popped like a pimple. To pop a weak point, you need to aim at it in focus mode and press R1. Every weapon type has a unique weak point punish animation, but none of them are quite as badass as the dual blades. When it comes to combat, where you're hitting the monster does matter. If you have a hammer and want to knock the monster out, you need to go for the head, and slashing damage can eventually slice the tail clean off if you target it. Certain areas of the monsters will do more damage than others as well. Look for yellow numbers to know you're in the right place. Also, be on the lookout for things in the environment that you can use to your advantage. There are healing bugs scattered around that can save you a potion, stalactites and other debris that you can pull down on the monster for some damage, and other things like paratoads that you can punt, causing them to do a big fart and stun the monster. Try to take a page out of a toddler's book. Grab everything, put everything in your mouth at least once, and remember, when things don't go your way,
you can blink, you can cry. Hell, you're all gonna be doing that.
Lots of the materials you will find aren't useful right away, but are needed to craft the various items that will help prepare you for your hunts. Here's a quick rundown of the essential items for success. The whetstone is required for all melee weapon users. The gauge directly under the stamina meter in the top left of your screen indicates your weapon's sharpness level. When your sharpness drops a level, the color of the gauge changes, and your damage and effectiveness are reduced. The colors are just like a stoplight. Green means good to go, yellow is speed the hell up, I mean you should stop soon, and red is stop unless you want to die. The Mega Potion is your go-to healing item for most situations. It heals a large amount of health over the course of a few seconds. You'll likely develop a healthy addiction to magic green juice during your playtime. This is normal and healthier for you than magic mushrooms like a certain plumber I know. The standard potions heal significantly less and are really just used for crafting more Mega Potions by combining it with honey. Crafting is pretty important in this game for maintaining your supplies, and all those little ingredients you see scattered on the map are useful for something, honey being one of the more important grabs. For now, I'd say just grab everything and see what you can make. There's a decent amount of depth here as well, a topic for another time perhaps. Another great healing item is life powder. The powder items in particular are fantastic tools for a multiplayer, as these are thrown into the air and spread to your teammates, provided you're close enough. They can also be used for your kitty cat, but since they are undying Egyptian gods, I wouldn't worry about that. Seriously though, they can't die. Sometimes they get knocked out for a few seconds, but that's about it. They're the real heroes. Rations and energy drinks are items used for stamina management. Hunting is hard work, and as your hunter gets tired, the maximum stamina will drop over time. You can replenish this to full by eating rations while you're out on the hunt. Nullberries and antidotes are some examples of cures for blights, otherwise known as status effects, DOTs, or a pain in the ass. Nullberries will cure elemental blights such as thunder blight and frost blight. Antidotes cure poison and can be crafted into herbal medicine, which provides a faster use time and small health recovery. As far as utility goes, trap items are very useful for both stunning the monster to get some easy damage in, as well as capturing the monster once you've damaged it enough. To capture a monster, you'll also need trank bombs or trank daggers to actually put it to sleep after trapping it. Look for the flashing skull icon on the monster in the minimap to know when it's ready to be captured. Barrel bombs are great for adding some multiplicative damage to a wake-up attack. When a monster falls asleep, you can carefully place some bombs near its head and wake it up with a big boom.
Wake.
New to Wilds, you can also pick these up and roll them at the monster. I don't see this being very useful, but it is hilarious, which is even better. There's also a few different pod types you can shoot from a slinger. Flash pods, great for escaping a grab and knocking a flying monster out of the air. Screamer pods can shock a burrowing monster out from under the sand. Dung pods can be flung at the monster to make them leave the area, a trick that hunters learn from observing angry primates in captivity. Unsurprisingly, this is a very effective deterrent, and it's great for splitting up packs in Wilds. You can restock your selection of items at any camp in the game, and to make this easier, I would recommend setting up a loadout that you can quickly equip at any time. This will put crafting materials that you don't need on hand into storage, and only grab out the exact loadout of items you specified. It also applies to your Radial menu settings, which you can customize exactly to your liking. Deleting items you aren't using or adding items you want more readily available will improve the flow of combat for you. Eating a meal before a hunt seems sort of arbitrary, but there's a good reason for digging into it outside of the flat health and stamina buff that it provides you. You see, different ingredients will provide you with different skills and buffs that can actually be quite impactful. For example, certain combinations will give stronger resistances to elemental damage. This is just one aspect of the benefits that food can provide, but should serve as a good kickoff point for you to dive in and start experimenting. Now look, I know what you must be thinking. Is there a romance scene with the sexy blacksmith lady, or am I just wasting my time? Unfortunately, it's unlikely, but knowing the absolute degeneracy the mod communities are capable of, I don't think you'll miss out for long. You might also be thinking, damn, this game is complex. And while that is correct, it is also an understatement. I'm only scratching the very surface in this video, and topics like builds, weapon upgrades, and the overall progression of the game are expansive in their own right, and merit videos of their own. If that stimulates your tism just like it does mine, then you're in the right place. If not, how the fuck did you get this far into the video?